In this video, I'm going to teach you how I made these light up sandals. The purpose for creating this sandal is I'm part of a meetup which we all decided to go to Maker Faire and make some light up wearables since we're in a sneaker town to do some shoes. Getting some inspiration from YouTube, I decided to go with virtual reality, 3D printing, light up Neopixels, and microcontrollers. I'm going to take you along in the journey of how I created these light up sandals. This is going to be in 10 steps. I made this in 5 weeks, so I'm going to reference 5 videos that you can use, but in this video I'm going to reference all those videos to walk you through the process. So the first step is to get a 3D printer. In my first video I talk about how to print with regular PLA. I'm going to reference a few clips in that video.
Actually, I was just printing this and I used the PLA, not the flex filament, and so it's really almost impossible to get the filament, the support out of the toe there. So I'm just gonna scrap this one and maybe donate it to someone who likes half a shoe. Yeah, anybody want that?
Then I quickly moved on to the second step, which was to flexible filament. That way it could be made for a sandal. I ran into about 3 different snags, which you can also reference in my first 3D printed video to get you through those snags.
The feed rate from 100 down to 75. Let's see if that helps.
Here is the new extruder, here's the old extruder. And basically the only difference is there's a hole bigger. The maker customized the hole to make it bigger. And then took a piece of filament from the printer that it comes with and put it right in here between, you can't really see here, but put it in between the 2 motors. So it essentially prevented slack when it pushed back into the stepper motors or into the pulleys. It prevented the slack from occurring. So I printed that, put in the tube, and away we went. On to the next print.
This one here, generate support. I do recommend you turn this on, and then you could see here on the red, all these red areas have support. And what I had trouble with is right here, this toe was not very strong without the support. So the support prints all within here to help this top part be stronger.
Third step is to print a large print with flex filament here. As you can see, this turned out great. It fits my foot, and it was really easy to do after I got through the first 2 steps. This is a template from Thingiverse, and it's very simple to download. You just have to get through the problems of the flexible filament with your printer.
So it fits my foot. The only problem that I had was, if you check out the toe here, it's a little bit thin. And that is because I did not print this with support. So this printed on its own layer by layer. Isn't it beautiful? I mean my foot. Check out my new kicks.
Step number 4 is to start designing in virtual reality. In this case, I referenced a mesh to get the size and dimensions right. So I imported a mesh, then I created my own, and I briefly prototyped what it might look like.
What we can do, let me show you a trick first that you might be interested, is you can use a reference mesh. So for example, you can import your own model here. As you can see, this is a 3D model I got off the internet, and I tried to do something very similar to it. So that's what that looks like. So you can do that to start.
Step number 5 is to create your own design in virtual reality.
Then the next one I did was I opened my own, or I started brand new, my own sandal. So here it is. One thing I did was, as you can see, this box around here is your grid, and I started sculpting it right on the bottom of the grid. That way I could get a flat surface. And then the other thing you need to do is make sure your dimensions, your width and your length. I don't really have a good trick for you on how to do that. but if you do, let me know.
All right, there we have it. Okay, so let's go ahead and save it. All right, now what we want to do is we want to export this as an OBJ. So go in there to export, it's OBJ. We're going to do the V4 version, sandal V4, export. And now you have exported your OBJ. Step number 6 is to transform with Meshmixer. This is the application you use to go from virtual reality into 3D printing. It prepares it into the right plane, that way it's ready to be printed. What you want to do is when you export it, as you saw, it went to .obj. .obj is the exported file. And what we'll do is we're going to open this with the free program Meshmixer by Autodesk. So go ahead and open that file. And now you see my shoe here. But as you can see, it's not in the plane that we need it in. Okay, so now let's keep manipulating this. What I like to do is I like to get to the bottom, scale it this way, because then I can get to the size. So this green one, left and right, I found the easiest way to do this is this one here. So let's scale that down. There we go. Let's move it over, move it back. All right, let's go ahead and accept the changes. Then what we're gonna do is export, and it's gonna be a STL file. So sandal VR4. Okay, so this is our 3D print file, and I'm using a program called Cura. And there it is. Need to make this as large as possible on my print bed. All right, a few settings that I always, retraction, I disable. I make sure that that's off. Speed, I change to 45 millimeters per second. And support, I always make sure that that is turned on. Okay, so now it's ready to prepare and print. Step number 7 is to print a small version of your virtual reality design, just to get a feel of how the concept works. As you can see here, here's a basic print just to test to see that it works. Then I started to come up with new ideas on how I could make this work. So in this example, I created a pocket for the LED strips. I thought this would work really well just to add the Neopixels into the shoe. Step number 8 is an iterative process. After you have made a small version of your shoe, then you can make it a much bigger version. Here is the first large version from my virtual reality design. As you can see here, it's really, really thick and not very wide for my shoe. So you can iterate as many times as you want. I did 3 different versions. So here's version 1. Here's version 2, a little bit better. The middle part here is a little bit too far off. It's not quite as flexible as I wanted, and it's not as contour as I wanted to my foot. And then the latest one, I moved this over I made it more flexible, and it's more contour now to my foot. Step number 9 is to code your Adafruit Gemma microcontroller. So let me show you a couple clips on how to do that now.
Okay, let me show you how to loady the Cody. We're gonna put it on the Adafruit Gemma. So thanks to my friend Michael Wild, who has graciously shared his open source code of a few different Neopixels code that you can use. Now, I did try to find some from the Adafruit learning system, but it was in Arduino, and luckily Michael rewrote it for the Adafruit Gemma that's very easy to load. So let me show you how to do that. There's 3 different ones that he chose. I like the neowheel.py. And another thing to mention is he did this in Python because we're familiar with it and it's really easy to use these days. So here's the code. Sometimes you should be able to click on raw. Okay, so here's the code. This is the easiest way, just copy it all. And then what you're gonna do is download what's called mu editor. It's mu-editor. And let's go into mode here, and you can see here's a mode for Adafruit Circuit Python. So that's the mode we're gonna choose. And we're gonna do a new, and what I did was, you could call it code.py. So I've already loaded it up here. So it's this code.py. So basically you're just gonna paste it in there, and then you're gonna save. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna save here on your Pi or your Adafruit Gemma, and it's called this code.py. So that's really all there is to it. Now you can go in here and change different settings on here. So for example, the number of pixels. If you only have half a dozen pixels, you can change the colors. He's done a lot of good things in here, inspired by Adafruit and what they have done.
The last and final step, number 10, is to solder your Adafruit Gemma to your Neopixel strip and then insert it into your shoe.
Here's the plan. I'm going to take 12 of these Neopixels, cut them off the strip, and then I'm going to solder my Gemma with 3 wires and connect them to the strip. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is cut the strip. Okay, let's plug it in with the battery, hook it up to the shoe. Ta-da! There we go. We have the Neopixel strip, the Gemma, and the LiPo battery. Okay, let's take a look at the Gemma. This is what I soldered. So I have the power, the ground, and the data in into the Neopixel strip here. And we're just going to plug this in with a micro USB. And voila, it's working.
And you have your final product, 3D printed from virtual reality light up sandals. Okay, you know how the outro goes. Like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever you do that's fun and engaging on social media. Follow us for more content like this. Until next time, ciao.